So I want to share with you an exercise I've been doing. Where this is in part something that was I got as an option from a teacher that I work with, Jeannie Zandy. And it was to notice the times when there's kind of harshness in me and harshness comes out. That was among a menu of many different possibilities to choose from. And somehow it called to me because there are these moments of harshness. And I felt like it would be helpful to just jot them down. Like, what is it that brings out this kind of sense of curse, I guess. I really associate it with a tendency to curse, and I mean it quite literally. I can swear quite a bit in the right circumstances. It's just there. And it's a great indicator in a certain way of inner state. So I noticed, like, what are some of the things that put me into curse mode, which is kind of suffering mode. It is a form of suffering. But I wanted to be more specific about it. One recently is my email. There's some kind of glitch in my Gmail, and so it will at times not connect and download new emails, and it'll tell me that, and then if I shut it down and reopen it to try to clear that out, it will tell me the connection failed, and it will give me several different reasons and several different times for what it is. And then also sometimes it will magically just clear itself up and there won't be any problem, and then sometimes that will happen after I've already spent some time completely rebooting. So, and I haven't yet risen to the occasion to research it and come up with the answer. But there's nothing like my computer to bring out harshness, I have to say. And then when I feel into it, well, let me give you some other examples so you kind of get the range. I also, I noticed it when we got a mini split system for heating the house years ago, but it wasn't quite adequate. We needed to add one more. And this new one that got added has a click to it. And my dog is afraid of the click. And so when we use it, she doesn't want to be anywhere around it. And it's a very centrally located place. And kind of slinks off, and it's kind of painful to think that we've put this in the middle of her world. And so when it clicks and it does this and I see this, there's just like a frustration in me and a sense of not knowing what to do. I will say my wife knows what to do. She's been kind of training her with treats, and it seems to be working. But I really more want to just address the more immediate thing that I feel, which is a kind of powerlessness, and how it puts me into a harsh place. Trying to park in Harvard Square. I was there for a funeral, and if you know Harvard Square, it's rather congested. The streets are laid out like cow paths. And there's nowhere to park, and whenever you so much as even slow down, there's 10 people behind you who all seem rather anxious to get somewhere, and it's a tough place. I used to, as a young man, be up for it. Now I'm kind of not, and I was advised to prepay for parking in a lot, so I did have a place to go, but then I couldn't find my QR code that said that I had paid, and people were lining up behind me. And anyway, it was this moment. And what I recognize is there's this kind of mild panic that's behind these moments of harshness that come up in me, the kind of the urge to curse. And I recognize that the word mild panic is is kind of an oxymoron. There's no such thing as a mild panic. But what I mean is that the panic is kind of way down deep inside and not right up there and right out front. But there's a place inside that when things come up and I don't know what to do about them, I panic, I feel alone, I feel abandoned. And it, it kind of comes out. It's very, I feel like, the other thing I noticed recently is Kate needed some help with something, and I just felt really irritated by that, really impatient with it. She didn't understand how to do something. And so part of writing it down, I'm sort of realizing a lot of this has to do with really powerful conditioning that I associate with being male. That isn't to say that females don't have this sometimes too, but the sense that I'm always supposed to know what to do. I'm always supposed to know how to fix things, and how to deal with life in a very physical, mechanical way. And when that's tested by a computer, or I guess the phone is kind of a computer issue too, like finding this QR code, there's just some sense of failing. It's just my conditioning. And this is suffering. This is suffering. And part of the conditioning is I remember growing up in the farm. I worked a lot with my father. And I remember this awful feeling inside me when I sensed his impatience with me, when I sensed in front of others that he was ashamed that I didn't know how to do something. And this is usually something mechanical. This is usually something around the farm work. And he didn't really teach me very well any of these things. And yet he kind of seeded this panic inside of me. Why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you about being human. This is my particular flavor of it, but I suspect all of you have your own flavor of it. Your own flavor of just what sets you off. People call them triggers. And so it's as though an ogre comes out from inside of us. An ogre. Like maybe even a person we don't want to be, or we wouldn't want other people to see. I sometimes think that my ogre comes out mostly only with the people who are closest to me. Mostly my wife, I have to say. It has occasionally come out a bit with my children when they were younger. Not so much now as they're adults. They don't see it. But my computer sees it. Oh my goodness. And there it is. Human. There it is, human. And it is, any of these things that kind of set you off, they're like a bell. They're like a bell to wake you up. I don't think it's as though you're supposed to squelch them. I've tried that. It doesn't really work. It may be that behaviorally you can improve them. It's always a possibility. It could be that you'll actually someday touch the pain behind it and heal it. Absolutely. That's a possibility. But short of that, sometimes there's just these moments that show your vulnerability in a really open way. And you can drop down in there and feel it. You can drop down in there and feel kind of the vulnerability of the human. I know there are a lot of people who don't feel this way about mechanical things. Some people just love to fix things. They just feel very competent there. I always felt I was supposed to. I don't. And as a homeowner, as a car owner, as a, person out there in the yard, there's certain things to know how to do. I think of the kind of the pressure to know stuff and not look stupid. I feel like this has been big in my world, not look stupid. Part of what's on my mind, I went to 3 funerals this last week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 3 different funerals. And I could talk about that. There's a lot to talk about that. Just that amount of contact with death and change. But for some reason, like driving through Harvard Square just put me back in something of like what it was like to be in graduate school, what it was like to feel like I had to be smart. And I had, in a very competitive environment, I had to know stuff and be creative, be sharp, not say anything stupid. And I didn't go to Harvard for graduate school, but I did take 1 class there. It was one of the scariest educational experiences I've had in my life. And I am a really confident student. I'm a really confident student. That's why I was in graduate school. People would be kind of shocked to hear me say this, that I felt intimidated. But there was kind of a level of aggression in that class I hadn't encountered before. This was among divinity students. So we're not talking Harvard Business School. We're not talking Harvard Law School. We're talking Harvard Divinity School. There was a level of aggression in there. And I recognized what it was. I don't actually judge it. It was a reflection of me in a certain way of, wanting to be sharp, wanting to look good, wanting to be the one with the answers, and a lot of sparring of opinions, which could be fun, but it wasn't. I've had classes where that could happen, and it was really kind of fun and felt like it was good-natured, and it really spurred people to learn and to come back. But that wasn't this experience. It wasn't this experience at all. I felt kind of afraid to speak in a way that was really quite rare. But overall, when I think back about graduate school, I think about the vulnerable human that I was. Maybe I can do that now. I'm almost 70. That's what I see. I don't feel like I have to prove I'm smart anymore. I don't feel like I have to have the right answers. Oddly enough, I'm in this class and I'm often giving answers, but it feels entirely different somehow. I couldn't say exactly why. I don't think any of this that I say comes from being smart. I think it comes from years of doing this practice. It's just the fruit of years of doing this. Something feels very different about it. But for that moment, driving through Harvard Square and not being up to facing the traffic, and just something came back to me about what it had been like to be young, and to feel like I had to prove myself. And mercy. I definitely feel mercy for that young man. And acknowledge the suffering that was there. And I'm glad that I didn't stay in an academic track. It was not good for me. It kept me in my ego, kept me in my head. And I'm glad that I didn't stay there. And there's a funny way that, that whatever we pass through in life has the potential to bear a gift later on. I didn't exactly plan it this way. I have to say that I ended up in an academic town being a psychotherapist. It was a bit of an accident. But I ended up kind of sitting across so many people, from professors to graduate students to undergraduates to people who work on campus. And I was able to kind of take in their experience. Having known it myself, it was really very helpful. From a different place, a very different place. Part of me doesn't want to say this, but I do think it's true that when you suffer, and you suffer consciously, it has the potential to soften your heart and make you more compassionate to yourself and others. It has the capacity to do that. It's not a necessity. Many people suffer and become bitter. That's also a possibility. But it's also possible that it's your suffering that could make you really of service to other people. It's your suffering that could actually be the way to connect with other people. Isn't that odd? Isn't that funny? I think I thought as a young man, the road to something lay through being smart, knowing stuff. I don't really think that anymore. It's helpful to know stuff. I'm glad when I see my doctor, they know stuff. My clients were probably glad I knew stuff. But there's this other quality of humility and humanness that I feel is more important. I've come to see through the course of a life is more important. It will get you farther in a certain way than trying to look like the smartest guy in the room. Believe me. By the way, we have a candle in the window now over there, so when you see me looking over there, I'm staring at the light, staring at this candle. It helps me to feel what there is inside to say as it kind of drops in. So mercy, human. I think I'll stop there. So, have a really good week. Take it easy. This season is not so easy. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of expectations that maybe you're trying to live up to of, what has to be ready. And there's a lot of disappointment sometimes in what's played up to be so wonderful. Things aren't always the way they're shown. Many people are lonely. Many people are blessed. Whatever your experience, accompany yourself. And if you want to say, "Dear human," that might be a good phrase to say, "Dear human." All right. Thanks for listening.